Hey everybody, it's February 3rd, 2021. 2021. Yes, I'm still like missing. I kind of like the symmetry of the numbers of 2020, and now we're into 2021. It throws me for a little bit of a loop. Um, yeah, so what I got here is an image. We're going to talk about the winter storm in a second, but this morning I have to say there was a pretty cool, like a freezing fog going on in my backyard here, with the sun coming up over the houses, and man, it was just beautiful. And normally I can see across that pond without issue, and but today it was a little challenging, and it was really cool. The fog at times lifted up and then came down and lifted up. So it was like off the ground about 15 feet. So when you looked at a distance, you could see like clearly, but then anything above it was like looking at the bottom edge of a cloud, literally. But then in this case, when I took the picture here, you can see it's a little bit lower. But wow, what a beautiful morning! That was a really nice treat there from Mother Nature. We're talking about a winter storm today, and I guess it looked like it was going to be it could be a major system there in the initial phases. What I'm seeing today is it's a snow event, okay, and if you want to call it a winter storm, that's great, that's fine. I'm more of like trying to like get away from the major winter storm hype buzzword stuff. I just think that there's going to be a good chance for accumulating snow for a lot of Wisconsin, and that's kind of my main talking point. What comes after the storm, the wind and the cold, is also a big deal. But I got this all wrapped up in text form and kind of a history of how the forecast has evolved in a technical way you can read there on the website. Here's the regional warnings and watches. Wisconsin is seeing, right currently has a large watch area, part of a larger watch area, even into upper Michigan and portions of Minnesota, Iowa, and Illinois. A blizzard warning already in Mason City. They're south towards Des Moines, not including Des Moines, but in between there. Pretty early for that. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting was they went with an advisory here across in the Milwaukee area and even a couple counties inward. I mean, I guess knowing what you knew yesterday, you would say, okay, that makes sense. But knowing what we know today, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'd be holding off a little bit on that, but whatever. The winter storm watch here in northeast Wisconsin has this is just the text from it. They're saying from the National Weather Service they were thinking 6 to 9 inches in this region potentially, with wind gusts as high as 35 miles per hour by late Thursday night into Friday. So you'd have blowing and drifting. Again, it might be a little bit hard to see, but we'll talk about what I'm thinking. Now I want to go back a little bit so we can go through this event here. This is the NAM, and the NAM is a little bit different from the medium range models. It's not been very consistent, but just so happens here in this 12Z run that it's close enough for me to show you. And it's kind of an unfortunate affair here because you have a low pressure system up here, and then you have another one down here, and this seems to be associated with more of the cold air, and this seems to be more along a southern stream jet streak coming through here, and they're not totally in phase, in my opinion, and so that's why they're disjointed and not together. If they were in sync, in phase, then that would equal a bigger storm system. As we go into Thursday morning, so this is 6 a.m. on Thursday morning per the NAM. What I'm seeing here is snow across northwest Wisconsin and a mix in central areas with not much going on in the east just yet. There's Thursday morning, but as we play it through time, by about noon, I would say this is 10 a.m. You're starting to see the snow increase in coverage or intensity there across central Wisconsin, switching from a mix over to snow for the midday hours. Now, midday, typically, you need a higher rate of accumulation to offset some of the melting that occurs. You need it to be snowing pretty consistently. The breaks in between will cause the total impact to be reduced because then the snow plows get a chance to catch up. So, but what I'm seeing here is it looks like for sections of Wisconsin, I mean, again, northwest Wisconsin at that point already might be exiting the snow as soon as 10 a.m. on Thursday, which is tomorrow. But then now it's firing up here across the eastern half, central Wisconsin, that area. So yeah, I mean, again, when I say during the midday hours, you need a good effort from the snowfall to put it to make the accumulation go as planned. So, and I think you can make that work. And yeah, you're seeing some heavier bands in there. This is what that's trying to signal, I believe. As we go through the midday hours, you get, on this model, you get an initial surge, and then you get another surge coming in. Now, where this actually ends up being, the NAM is different from the GFS and EC. This might actually be a little bit further west. As opposed to being in here, it might be more like in here. Something like that, but generally, if you take it along an axis, somewhere within here, okay, is where this second batch comes from. Now this or where it's going to go, and then that's kind of a key. So when you're going to reach those higher end amounts, where would that be? And again, this points more towards like this area for higher end, 5 to 8 inches, okay. But this is just the name. So anyway, and as we go into the evening, this is supposed to be 9 p.m. on Thursday, already in the NAM clearing out pretty good in here, with the wind gusts increasing out of the west, even like a southwest vector even behind the system. And this, it takes on a negative tilt in here as it tries to phase with this, but it's just, it's just a little bit out of sync is my point. Because when you look at this whole evolution from start to finish, you're not seeing a very well-defined low-pressure system. Again, and this is another system that's kind of like half-cocked. And what I mean by that is just not all clicking on all cylinders. It's got the snow. I think it's going to snow and all that. But I just, you're looking for a major system, and it's been hard to find this winter. Yeah, so by 6 a.m. on Friday, you may have some flurries or something like that. And then maybe even a little bit of lake effect up here in Upper Michigan and Lower Michigan too. But done by 6 a.m. on this model. I think that time has sped up. Okay, so when the storm looked bigger in earlier model runs, it was longer in duration. It lasted further into Friday morning. Now it's kind of being trimmed down. So what are the NAM? What is this is the European model, snowfall, 10-to-1 ratio. It's showing kind of an axis of heavy snow in here. And now I'm going to keep that line there, and then I'm just going to compare that with the GFS. So here's the European 10-to-1, GFS 10-to-1. Now, the GFS is a little bit further west, perhaps. And we'll flip back and forth here. But you know what, though? They're pretty close to the same, okay? They're not that much different, okay? They're generally telling the same story, which is what you want. And they've been generally, the last 24 hours or so, been mostly on the same page, which is good. That's good for consistency. Now, the one model I saw today, the 12Z NAM, that's not the 12Z NAM. This is the 12Z NAM. That's a little different, okay? But if you look at its history, it's been so inconsistent that I have very little faith in the NAM solution just yet. I think, if we start to see some of these the GFS and European start to trend east, I think our confidence in this forecast will decrease. But we're getting to a point now, I think that shouldn't happen, but it's one reason to be a little bit more reserved with this forecast and not go the higher end amounts everywhere, because I've seen a lot of these systems where in the last 24 hours or so, they just kind of like shrivel up because, I don't know, you could explain, maybe there's several reasons for it and all reasons are different, but I just think like when you have a system that's just not fully cohesive, that you get those issues, but I could be wrong. So this is my forecast, and now typically this is kind of a large area for a main band, but I think based on the system, it's kind of like in phases, it's hitting this area the most commonly. If you have two main precipitation rounds and they tend to fall within this zone, that's where you get. But what I would rather have is to have a kind of like bands like this, more narrow. I'm not saying that's how that, I'm not contradicting my own forecast. I'm just saying that's what I'm trying to get to here with this. And it's just kind of hard because you have this excess here. I'm saying excess, okay, in terms of what ideally you would expect to see, where, okay, we got to do something here. What's going on in this zone? What's going on over here? What's this all about? Because it's kind of like angling out at a different rate. It's just all looks kind of funky. And if you look at the bigger view of my map, it's pretty like pitted and weird looking. So we'll just see how that goes. The 8 to 10 I keep up here. Again, if you look at some of the models, if you look at even the Kuchera method, they would say maybe an 8 to 10 up in here. Okay, but I'm going to stay away from that just for now. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, there should be another time for another update in here. So maybe tomorrow we could go 8 to 10 up here. But I think 5 to 8 is safe for now. We're not going to push it, especially like this region with the last system we kind of nerfed on. So I'm going to try to not go too crazy there and try to be more conservative. So that's the snowfall amounts. Let's talk about the cold and the wind. This is what the GFS is showing for 2 meter temperature anomalies. I know it's really zoomed out, but this is like the United States region, the whole scale here to give you the full picture. You're kind of seeing where the below average temperatures are kind of pour in. It's kind of that region there, and then you get the coldest air kind of through here. I think that color, that's like a salmony pink, almost misty white color. That's close to -20 to -28 degrees below average for that time frame there. So that's 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. Pretty cold, pretty cold. And this is getting close to the coldest time of year. So yeah, I mean, when we look at the actual temperatures, we'll look at the model simulation for this. This is what the 7-day forecast kind of looks like. I wanted to do that, and then I want to give another big high-level view of what's going on here going into the weekend. Is that you get these temperatures going down. Now, here's the average line, close to 25. I think that's 25 there. Now, rising up into towards 30 this weekend on average. Okay, sometimes this line here moves around a little bit, but when you do the math here and go all the way down for the high temperature, and the GFS is probably about sometimes 5 to 10 degrees colder than the European for this time frame. But I would say generally, if you get it down to 0, that's about 25 to 30 degrees below average for this time of year, right in here. Okay, so that's pretty cold. Sometimes what happens with the cold shots is they don't always last as long. I mean, initially, when you're initially looking at it, so maybe this would go more like that. I'm not saying it will, because when I look at the long range, it still looks pretty cold in here. I'm just saying. So the main thing we're kind of focusing on is the Saturday, Sunday time frame. I think that's going to be the coldest for us. Saturday night specifically looks pretty cold. So here, when we take the 6 a.m. morning look at the wind chill off of the GFS model, I mean, these are pretty chilly wind chills here. This is lower, -40 degree wind chills. Okay, I think that's a little bit too aggressive. European wouldn't be so cold. I think they might be more 35 degree below zero wind chills for Saturday, Sunday morning there. So it might come as a shock to you because it's been a mild winter, and it's going to be a slap in the face. I think winter is just showing up now, and it's going to like, hey guys, how do you like this? And let me send you some really, really nasty wind chills. But yeah, I mean, here's the comparison. Actually, I'm glad I brought this up. Here's the GFS I just showed you with the -45 degree below average or below zero wind chills here. And then the European is almost 10 degrees, if not 15 degrees warmer with that. And it's been that way, okay? So maybe somewhere in between reality will happen to be, okay, this GFS probably too cold, European, maybe not cold enough, somewhere in between. All right, windy. Okay, we're almost to the end here. This is the windy map for the event coming up. And I like windy. It's kind of neat, nice colors, pretty colors. Let me zoom out here. Okay, we got Wisconsin. I got that pinpointed there in sort of central Wisconsin area. It's showing the wind gust amount of about 20 miles per hour. So it's not 20 miles per hour the entire time. That's just the gusts up to that amount. And we're here at about Wednesday at 9 p.m. So that's tonight. Okay, so let's get into Thursday here. Now you're watching this low pressure system, which looks actually pretty nice here in the southern end of things. Again, here's you got your northern low pressure system, probably in the northern stream, and then you get the southern low pressure system that's in the southern stream. And this is going to move like this, okay? And but the wind gusts, you're not seeing really increase at all. You're kind of stuck in between this zone between the two low pressure centers. And then you kind of get this elongated area of lower pressure. And then you get this cold front forming here. Now you got nice pressure falls along the cold front here. Down, I mean, this is way down there, Arkansas. Oh, no, it's Missouri. No, is that Missouri? Where am I looking? This is Arkansas, and there's Missouri. Yeah, so Missouri here, Arkansas. Sorry, I do know my geography decently well. But yeah, so you get the cold front in there. That's what you're seeing here. And you're seeing kind of an elongated area again. Here's the low pressure system kicking through here. It doesn't look that bad. but it looks kind of I don't know, narrow. But it's also tilting back. Whoopsies. Maybe there's a better way. On a different map I could have showed you this, but as things have gone on, you're kind of seeing the low pressure tilt take on a negative tilt, and it typically doesn't create major snowstorms, but just not at the right time for us. Anyways, going through time here as we go into zooming in Thursday around 6 p.m. That cold front's going to be pushing in to western sections of Wisconsin, and when it does, you're going to see wind gusts increase and temperatures drop out. And I mean, you get wind gusts into the 35 mile per hour range pretty easily, I think, across Wisconsin there Thursday night into early Friday morning. And that by that time the snow is winding down, but you're getting the wind to blow that snow around. Now, if it's a wetter snow, that won't blow around as much, but it still will blow around. And I don't think the snow is going to be excessively dry to the point where we'll have massive drifts. So somewhere in between there where there will be blowing snow, but probably not the worst you've ever seen. And then as you go into Friday morning, it's windy, stays windy because you get these tight isobars in here. So wind flows into the backside of this low pressure system, which is now at a 985. So it looks like the phasing is starting to happen, but it's east of us by this point. Okay, you needed that to happen in here. And 35 mile per hour wind gusts. And then as we go through the day there on Friday, it stays windy and it will probably remain in the 30 mile per hour wind gust range there Friday but into Saturday it weakens down and then it just becomes cold. Now, typically when we get the coldest air, when things really bottom out, is when you can get a high pressure center to ride over Wisconsin. And I think this is showing wind gusts. See, now this is the other thing that you may not notice. If you're not real familiar with weather, you get you're getting a clockwise rotation in here, and then that low pressure that moved off was a counterclockwise rotation. So this is the low, and here's the high. And you can kind of see that really cool here on windy. Anyway, as we go through time here, you're seeing that move through. Now, if we switch it over to temperature while I'm here, I mean, look at that move in, right? Pretty cold. It gets cold in Wisconsin. This is nothing new, but for this winter, it might be a shock. And it stays cold. We've gotten really lucky to this point, so I have no issues with this, and this doesn't bother me. If we can save the worst cold of the winter till February, I think that's a win. So that's what I got for you today. And as I mentioned when we started this video, you can check out more information on the website. I'm anxious to get developing some stuff that I'm working on the website back end here today. So I'm going to post this video and put it on the website, and then I will keep you updated on the storm, what I'm kind of seeing on the website. Again, I'm not on Facebook right now. It's just not for me right now, but maybe in the future. I really like the way things are going on the website. I like the idea of people coming to find the website on their own terms, right? So part of the thing with Facebook and social media and mainstream and all that stuff is you kind of like driving information into people. Believe this, believe that, believe this. Now, but when you do it on the website, people aren't, they're coming here because they're curious. They want to know more. They want to hear about the forecast. They want to kind of hear my ideas. They want to hear all this stuff. It's not something that they're just kind of mindlessly listening to. They've chosen to come here, and that's what I'd rather it be than just sort of like a mindless social media. Yeah, so I have my issues. I love the page. I love everything we did on Facebook, and I'm not saying I'm not going back. I'm just saying I'm taking a break and I'm remaining in that break for now. A lot of people have been asking. That's why I'm talking and a bit more detail about it. It's just one of those things that maybe as time goes on, I'll be able to go back into that. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. We'll keep you updated. See ya.